Hey gang, welcome to Investor Answers Weekly Q&A, where I answer your questions. And as usual, got some cool video submissions this week, which is cool. Channels about math, money, and freedom, and a lot of the questions you guys are asking require a lot of number crunching. So I really enjoy putting the work behind the scenes to give you good answers that you can make good decisions from. And again, don't make decisions from any of this because this is just entertainment, just a guy on YouTube. So first of all, I want to say a big thank you to everybody within Patreon. This is huge. And I estimate by the year 2030, my little Patreon group will hold at least 0.14% of the world's wealth. And how is that possible? Well, champagne and Bora Bora, number one. Number two, the community now holds, I believe, about 0.14% of the world's future wealth. And the reason I came up with that is I did a little survey within Patreon, and we have over 500 new Wholecoiners since the beginning of Feb of this year, and 150 half coiners. We also have 168 triple coiners, and there's a few that have an awful lot more than that. So big congrats to everybody. And I just want to share that with everybody, how important it is to try and strive to be a Wholecoiner, because it's going to be so important in the future. And there'll only be about 350,000 of them by my estimation. So if you have one, you'll be one of 350,000 people on Earth. So that's good news. And by the way, every time Michael Saylor jumps in and buys, like he will do tomorrow, he is denying 15,000 people the ability to become a Wholecoiner, just like that. So think about that. Anyway, let's go to the first question of the day.
Hi James, my portfolio of altcoins is worth more than the price of one Bitcoin at the moment. Am I a Wholecoiner?
So let's jump into the answer here. Because your altcoins holdings are greater than the value of one Bitcoin, you are not a Wholecoiner in the Bitcoin sense of the word. So sorry to bring you those grief tidings. Now, alts are of course far riskier than Bitcoin, and many have crazy valuations, and some of them will just disappear over time. And there is only one pristine store of value, and that is Bitcoin. So be very careful out there. Again, well done on having a high value set of altcoins, but think about diversifying into a steadier, safer blue chip asset like Bitcoin. So thank you for that question. This is another cool question from Lewis.
Hey, it's Lewis from Patreon. Question: when the largest DeFi protocol emerges from the ranks, what would you estimate the total market cap to be of that coin by 2030? Thanks.
As we know, Lewis, there was a topic that came up in Davos, and they talked about the fact that DeFi could be a very disruptive force. And between the equity markets worth 95 trillion, debt markets 106 trillion, etc., derivatives, a huge amount, etc. If you add all those together, it's 867 trillion. And I estimate conservatively that'll be at least a quad. And I'll talk more about the numbers in a minute. But this committee, you got to be careful, because the committee that are behind this are people like Christine Lagarde, BlackRock CEO Larry Fink, Carlyle Group Chairman David Rubenstein, an Indian billionaire Mukesh Ambani, and a bunch of others. These folks, they don't want DeFi coming for their lunch. So be careful of that. Now, let's look at some of the numbers. And this will explain why these people are extremely nervous. And again, as usual, I'm very, very conservative in how I sandbag. Just to spell out the numbers, $1 trillion has 12 zeros. The 2030 financial market size, I reckon, will be at least 1,000 trillion, which is a quadrillion. And again, it's important to spell these numbers out because they get so big so fast. So if you assume DeFi and a platform like Ethereum having 5% market share, that will be worth a $50 trillion market cap. If they have 10% market share, that'll be worth a $100 trillion market cap. So based on my calculations, a theoretical token price, if Ethereum handles 1% of the whole financial market, basically they only disrupt 1%, that brings us about a theoretical Ethereum price of $50,000 a token. If they have 5% market share, that would bring out a $250,000 theoretical price. And if they have 10% market share, that means each token will be worth over $500,000. And that translated into market cap for Ethereum. 1% of DeFi would be a $5.8 trillion market cap. A 5% market would be a $29 trillion market cap, and at 10% would be nearly a $60 trillion market cap. So you'll see where people like Raoul Pal come up with a $40,000 per token being extremely achievable. Per this number in 2030, with a 1% market share, you get a 50,000 token price for Ethereum. Now, we don't know yet if Ethereum is going to win the day. I think my vision of the future is a few players all having a piece. Players like Solana in combination with Ethereum, Cardano, Polkadot. These will all take a little, Algorand as well, all take a little bit of piece of the pie. So think about that. Thank you for the question, Lewis. I hope it answered. Again, it's just theoretical numbers, but it shows you the actual size of the market, and that's how you need to calculate it. Work back to market caps, calculate the number of tokens being issued by that time frame. And this calculation also assumes negative inflation, deflationary EIP 1559 for Ethereum. So big thank you for that question. So the question from Tim regarding Polygon.
I bought Polygon early on, made a nice profit from it, and am considering when it hits an all-time high to swap it all out for Bitcoin. Any thoughts?
Big congratulations, Tim, for doing so well on MATIC. Second of all, I'm not concerned by EIP 1559 and the effect on MATIC. They do have fixed supply, which I like. They're a clear leader in their space. They're widely adopted. There's many use cases for the technology, and they are a key element for our new interchain world. But what I am concerned about is over the next 18 months, a lot of tokens will be dumped on the market, and that could depress price. But let's go a little bit further. Just to remind you all of my Polygon price prediction. Again, super conservative. 3 scenarios: low, medium, and high. Low being bear case, medium expected, and high being bull case. And the ranges for 2030 would be my bear case about $15, my expected case about $20, and my bull case $32. Now, if we compare this to my Bitcoin price predictions and compare Bitcoin versus MATIC per my models, and again, I've got my Bitcoin bear 2030 expectation of 331K, my expected scenario of 552, and my bull case about 986, just shy of $1 million. Polygon, MATIC, $15, $20, $32. If you look at the delta and the return on investment of both compared to each other, you can see under the bear case, MATIC actually wins out against Bitcoin by about 145%. So Bitcoin would return 800% and MATIC would be about 940%. But it changes when you start getting more into the expected case scenario for Bitcoin. 1,400% return versus today versus 1,300 for MATIC, and my bull case, 2,600% versus 2,100% for MATIC. So the delta is 100% return on investment by 2030 for the expected case scenario for Bitcoin, and a 400% ROI higher than MATIC for my bull case. Tim, great question. Hope you like the answer. And we'll see where we go. So next question, we talk a little bit about IRAs and Bitcoins and where they're held.
We currently own our Bitcoin in our Roth IRA through iTrust Capital, in another IRA with shares of GBTC Trust. So technically, we do not own Bitcoin. Would it ultimately be wiser to cash in and find another way to purchase and own the Bitcoin through our Roth IRA and other IRA?
So Christopher, great question. Congrats on your investments. So iTrust, from what I know, is the best Bitcoin-friendly IRA that exists. So you're in the right place. And IRA is also a great way to hold Bitcoin because of if you generate some great gains, you can get out and you can not incur a big tax event, which is wonderful. But the key issue to note here is neither hold your keys. And there's a few things as well that I'm a little bit concerned about with GBTC long term. First of all, we don't know if they're going to get their ETF approved. But the good news is when they do, the discount or premium should disappear. So currently we're at a 12% discount. You can see here per this chart, it was nearly trading at a 50% premium in December 2020, right before the new year. And it's then since gone down. But what's kind of interesting is over the last month or so, as Bitcoin has been stagnant, the premium, or I should say the discount for GBTC has actually gone down. And so it's approaching the zero line again, which is great. And I think as Bitcoin rises, this basic discount will slowly disappear. So that'll be a good thing. So what I would recommend, again, not investment advice, but what I would do in your situation, if you are a long-term holder, very important, that assumption that I'm assuming right now for you and your family, hold GBTC for now. Wait for a bounce at the top of the bull market, for example. If Bitcoin hits 100K, that could be your exit signal. Sell and try to move the assets as quickly as possible to the IRA. Now check your local taxes. I think you are in Colorado, I'm not sure. And do your homework in advance by making sure you have your ACH and wiring in place within your different accounts so you can move the money quickly. Now the risks of this, obviously, is twofold. One, Bitcoin may never reach $100,000. Second of all, well, at least during this bull cycle. And second of all, it could go to 100K and then it could go straight to 288 as some people expect. So you never know. So be in a position to kind of manage your risk. And the good thing about having this IRA account is you have flexibility where you can take gains and not incur taxes and then get right back in again at a lower price. So big thank you for that question. So next question is from Andre.
In previous cycles, we've seen large caps grow, Ethereum, Bitcoin, all this stuff, and then after that, we will see the small caps boom and grow. We haven't seen it this time. Is that a new thing? Any ideas on that? Just kind of puzzles me.
So I get this a lot, and I think about this all the time, and I compare 2013 to 2017 to today. And this time it is very, very different. So I put together a quick list of why I believe this bull cycle is extremely different to the past. And I like your question. I like the way you're thinking. But first of all, Bitcoin compared to the alts, there's a new Bitcoin store of value narrative, which didn't exist in 2017. There's way more on-ramps for retail and even institutions to get access to things like Bitcoin. And the institutions, when they're holding it as treasuries, they're not going to hold Dogecoin. They're going to hold something pristine and safe, which means they'll go to Bitcoin first, maybe Ethereum second. There's far more publicity this time around. There's more heavy hitters getting in on the game, like the Ray Dalios of the world and Stanley Druckenmillers and the big hedge fund managers. Also, when it comes to the altcoins, there's far more use cases, but there's also more FUD. We had the pandemic, which drove a lot of money printing. What we also have is people have experience this time around. People are very aware of the cycles and they don't want to get caught out. They're very aware of things like rug pulls. That being said, they still invest in crazy things like Doge. And when a lot of people who got into ICP at 540 and now they see it that get hit low 50s yesterday, they get very concerned. So people are more aware. The cycle is very different. I remain extremely bullish on things like Bitcoin and Ethereum because of the use cases. So I don't expect it to play out the same way, i.e. Bitcoin will spike first and a month later, the alts will spike after that. Not sure that'll happen. I also, in line with that, I don't expect the dump to be as extreme as it was in the past, an 85% retracement. I think it might be 40%, maybe 50%. So if we go to $200,000, it'll fall maybe to $100,000. If you go to $100,000, the new floor might be $50,000 or $60,000. So that's the way I see it running. And the other way I think about it is look at history and similar analogies, like the internet in 1996, the internet in 1999, and the internet in the year 2003. And they're all very distinctive, and you can see the maturation of companies, went from hype and online pet stores and stuff like that to much more stable, mature companies. Thank you for the question. Next question from Kate.
Hi, James. My question is, where is the best place to read crypto news, since there is a lot of FUD in the internet?
Kate, I really appreciate this question because it is so important. There's so much garbage out there, so much news, and even places that I used to go to 20 years ago are shockingly bad. For example, CNBC and Fox, etc. They're so uneducated in the space and they repeat such garbage and they have terrible people on TV that they interview. It is really scraping the bottom of the barrel. But first of all, what I do is Twitter has become a good place to find good news, but you got to follow the right people. Think of Raoul Pal, Willy Woo, Lynn Alden, etc. They are really, really good trusted sources. YouTube as well. Follow only trusted people. I hate to say, but a huge percentage of YouTubers, they just say some of the wrong stuff. I don't watch them, but I've been referred to some videos and not that good. Now, I also like Bloomberg, Barron's, and Forbes sometimes, but it depends on the journalist. I look at Reddit by token, the tokens that I follow closely. I find some good material there. I also like Medium. You got some really clever people writing for Medium. And I configure alerts on Google by token, or I use RSS feeds. And I like CoinDesk. So they are kind of some of my top sources of information. But you're dead right to only trust certain places. Even if you think a source is reputable, the stuff they put out really isn't. So big thank you, Kate. Next question from Rebecca. This is the fun question of the week. Roll the tape.
Hello, James. Thank you for everything that you do. We love it. I just have a question about processed meats. You mentioned you've done some research on processed meats linking to cancer. I wondered if you could help us identify what processed meats are, and so we can take them out of our diet.
So Rebecca, I love this one. And this is a very important issue. Particularly for certain people in certain countries. And it's fascinating when you look at the correlation between certain types of cancer and diet. And there is direct correlation. It's stunning. And you can actually look up things like colon cancer and pancreatic cancer, and then you can trace it back to what people eat and how little fiber, etc., they have in their diet. But just a quick recap for everybody. Processed meats that are high in nitrates are things like sausage, salami, bacon, rashers, anything that is heavily preserved with these nitrates. And they're extremely bad for you. Not only are they bad, but also the hormones that they put in the animals are extremely bad for you as well. So if you do have to eat these types of meats, make sure you choose ones that have no hormones and as organic as possible. The closer you are to wilder meat, the safer it is. And also try find stuff that's nitrate free. So these are things, and especially when I see kids eating hot dogs, it breaks my heart because they are super toxic. Now, how processed meats cause cancer? Obviously, the WHO, I think, they processed meat as a group 1 carcinogenic to humans. That means there's a direct link between cancer and these types of foods. The types of cancers processed meats cause colon cancer, stomach cancer, bladder, and pancreatic cancer. Unfortunately, pancreatic cancer is deadly. So if you get it, the outcome is not good. And in fact, of all the humans in the US, about 1 to 2% of people actually die from pancreatic cancer, which is really high. So the real problem is your nitrates turn into nitrates in the actual stomach, and they cause cancer. This is a quick little chart here, just for those. I'm probably going a little bit too deep than I should, but this is what happens. And that's why it's so important, because things like colon cancer can be detected very early. They can also be prevented very easily as well. But the problem is these nitrates turning into nitrites that turn into nitric oxide that create polyps, that create tumors in the large intestine. That's how the sausage is made, excuse the pun. Now, what is so important is what you can do, what you can do for your family and recommend is avoid all processed meats when you can. I know it's hard. Exercise, very important. I say 10,000 steps a day or 150, 200 minutes of exercise a week, how you get it in. Also, what's really important, I spent a long time looking at the microbiomes. For example, if you look at the correlation between what people eat and colon cancer, you'll notice Germans don't hit the top 20 country list despite the fact they eat a lot of processed meats. And I think, and this is my theory, and it could be a crazy theory, but the Germans also eat a lot of sausages, but they eat a lot of sauerkraut in combination. And that builds a very healthy microbiome, and that prevents colon cancer. So, wild theory, I haven't been able to find a paper to prove it, but I'm pretty sure there's a correlation between the importance of eating things like sauerkraut and you can kind of get away with being bad and having your sausage. Keep your BMI under 25 if possible. Lots of leafy greens, lots of cruciferous vegetables, eat lots of garlic, resveratrol, or drink a glass of red wine once a day, high fiber diet, and throw turmeric and blueberries in whenever you can. That's it. Real simple. Big thank you, Rebecca. And also, I don't want people to freak out, but as Socrates once said, all things in moderation, including moderation. Quick piece on your contributions, our donations. We adopted 2 little monkeys, Chico and Zeppo. These guys, unfortunately, were found on a woman's property in Iowa. There was over 50 monkeys seized. Many didn't make it. They were dehydrated. They were covered in feces, no food or water. But anyway, these little guys are now being sponsored by us too. We'll keep them healthy, hopefully as long as they live. So big thank you everybody as well for that. And once again, everybody on Patreon, love working with you every day. Hope you like this. Take care. Bye.